Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of The Rare Agent, where we peel back the curtain on all things real estate. We had an incredibly exciting guest lined up for today, but as is in the world of real estate, everything is crazy. Everybody's got places to be, home inspections, buyers visits, and whatnot. So our guest unfortunately canceled. So it's just us three ladies today, Jennifer, Kelly, and Christina. But that is okay. We're absolutely here and winging it with...
We have the top 10 questions that realtors are asked because we wanted to give some value today. And we're going to have a nice little chit chat about what realtors get asked and the different things that buyers, sellers, and realtors should know.
Absolutely. I think it's fantastic. And I am super excited to be caught off the cuff because I have no idea. Kelly is going to be the person asking the questions. And Christina and myself are going to be the people answering it. And then maybe we're going to flip it around.
I get to answer too.
You get to answer too?
Yeah, I just Googled the questions because I had the laptop.
I thought this was like a game show where it's like, who gets it right?
There's no buzzer. You don't win.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay. All right. Fair. All right.
Okay. So we're going to start this off. I pulled these from the internet. They are in no particular order. So question number 1 that Google gave us is, I'm thinking of buying my first home. Where do I start? This seems basic, but a lot of people don't know this.
Okay, where's my buzzer? Ding, ding, ding. Okay, so first and foremost, if you are thinking about purchasing a home, in my opinion, you must go and see a mortgage agent. You need to get pre-qualified to know exactly what it is that you can afford before you get out there, waste a whole bunch of time on yourself, for everybody else involved. You need to know what you can afford before you get out there.
100%.
Yeah, I think the next thing, once you know what you can afford, max budget, is go do a budget.
Yes.
Start living like you have a mortgage. Most people, it's a significant amount that you're going to start paying. Well, if you're not paying rent already, but living like you have a mortgage. If you're at home, maybe you don't pay anything. So maybe start living like that you would be paying for your where you live.
I think that's a great tip. I've actually never heard anyone articulate that. And that is a really great idea. Like practice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You don't realize the impact. You see the numbers on paper. Start eating bread and butter
from the beginning. Start, if you know, that's just like the biggest thing. I actually learned that from one of my older sisters. Like before I was a realtor, she had bought a condo, really young. Dem, what's up? Maybe she'll be listening. But she was living at home in one of those things, and she was in her early 20s, and she's like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to be eating bread and water. And I was like, that at that time, I didn't really understand. But as I go through this industry, it makes sense.
100%.
How would you ever know? And have an emergency fund, all those details, have them do a budget before.
Okay, I need to attest to something here on that tip about bread and water. You would be shocked, and I'm going to open it up here a little bit, but you would be shocked at what you can find at Dollarama. I'm just saying, I'm an avid Longo shopper. Don't get me wrong. I love food. I love quality food, but the stuff that you can find at Dollarama is mind blowing. I am, always running around planning for events, and I had to stop in at Dollarama, and I was like, oh my God, I need to grab this. Dude, I found organic ketchup for $4. It's $8.99 at Longo. So I stocked up. I literally did a shelf swipe, and I was organic Heinz ketchup. It's not no name, where did this come from? $4.
Gotta shop smart.
Including marinated artichokes. You can still have a mortgage and be on a budget and eat well, is 100%. All I'm saying.
So, okay, you need to get pre-approved. You need to start practicing how you're going to live with that mortgage. I think you also need to get really clear on your criteria, sitting down and making a plan. I think there's a lot of people, sometimes when you're overly open, that makes it so much harder. I think we can all attest to the clients that have the most success are the ones that know what they want.
Oh, absolutely. And understand, are realistic.
Yes.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yes, definitely expectations.
I want to add one more layer of that.
Of artichokes?
No.
I didn't even know that existed.
Somebody out there is going to really appreciate that hot tip, okay? About the marinated artichokes. But anyways, no, this is about mortgages. So adding another layer to that, not only getting pre-qualified, but I avidly recommend that people actually do go to a mortgage agent versus a bank. And that's just, again, maybe just from personal experience or experience that we've had with our clients. But, if you go to the bank that you constantly deal with, whether it be the big, Scotia, TD, CIBC, whoever it happens to be, they are only there to sell you their sort of personal or
Products.
business sort of products, right? Whereas a mortgage agent literally has access to 10 of those things. So they have access to
Maybe even more.
if not more,
More,
yeah.
definitely
Like,
more.
yeah.
'cause
A lenders, B lenders, private lenders.
They have
yeah.
access to all of the big banks, Scotia through BMO, and then the B
Monolines.
lenders, and then private lenders. Whatever you need to be, they have a wide range of products and services to offer you, more so than if you just go to your bank. So just wanted to
They also
add
have
that
great
on.
relationships to help negotiate
sure.
on your behalf and advocate for you, which is really important. They're so like, I don't think I've ever accepted what I get on paper. They always negotiate for us,
Yeah.
and that's huge.
Absolutely.
Okay. Question number 2. Is there a best time of year price-wise to buy a home? Ladies,
Christina,
do you have
waiting
an opinion
on
on
you.
this?
Ooh, I always think August is a great time. And I always think December. Of course, December is kind of like a known fact.
You know what's funny is people always, when they think real estate, they think the best time to buy and sell are fall and spring, but that's really when it's a better time to sell. People don't actually separate the buyer and the seller.
Yeah, because there's always, of course, there's listings that sell really quickly, but then there's some that, timing isn't right, pricing strategy wasn't correct or whatnot. And they're kind of like going stale into, they missed the bump of the summer market. And like now they're getting stale into August and they just want to offload. Like there's always an opportunity. I feel like in August, I think that I'm always kind of working in August and December. You'll never regret, I feel, in the history of what's been going on, you'll never regret. I haven't had someone regret buying something in December. And then as we go into the spring market thinking, oh, I pulled the trigger too early because the market just continues to, it comes back up as we go into the new
generally,
year.
if you're selling in December, you're selling for a reason because most people want to quiet down for the holidays. So if a home's listed in December, generally they're looking to sell and they're motivated. So the buyers that are out and also not taking the break are the ones that are going to
It's not always the best inventory. That's what also, like, it's not the prettiest houses or the ones that have spent the most money on getting them prepared or advertising, but there always is. And I think there's always just opportunity then.
I think it's also really important to note that everything that we're talking about in terms of, being a better time to buy in August and December, that really isn't a traditional market. And so many people, these last 3 years have not been normal. Just, I want to say that. Like if you're just entering real estate and you're just buying a home now, or you're just, becoming a realtor, these last 3 years after the pandemic have not been normal in any capacity. It really was traditionally the summer is slowed down and it was kind of like crickets out there and you were able to scoop up something. And to your point about the holiday season. So I think this past summer was a super quiet summer. It definitely slowed down. Mind you, we do have interest rate hikes that have come into play that have added to that. So
I think that all just ties back to, at the end of the day, yes, obviously you can watch the market and there's times where you might be able to, benefit from what's happening. But the best time to buy is going to come down to you and your timeline and when you're ready and your financial situation, because everyone is different.
Yeah.
So people are always looking for that like golden ticket special answer. It depends on you.
There's a
at the end
variety
the
of
day.
factors, 100%.
Are we ready for number 3?
Yes.
Okay. Can I buy a home with no down payment? And then I'm also going to add, should you?
In this climate, no, you should not. That's my personal advice there.
So obviously, yes, there are ways you can. I think this tends to be more popular in the world of investing and creative financing there. I definitely don't think you should ever be looking at buying a personal residence without a down payment because you're going to be completely over leveraged. But if you're buying a cash flowing asset, if you have equity built in the purchase and you can do a vendor take back or something where you don't have a down payment, I think that's a different story.
Yeah, for sure. If you're in the investing world and there is a vendor take back where somebody will give you, like literally give you your down payment and then you have, a mortgage from somebody else, that makes a lot of sense. But I have to say that I think in this climate, and maybe it's not going to be a popular answer, but in this climate, having active income is a lot more important than there's so many real estate gurus that get out there and tell you to go and, oh, you can do this and you can do that and just jump and get a mortgage. But to your point, over leveraging yourself in this interest rate climate is just completely possible. So you do really need to protect yourself. And I know people that are putting more down to make sure that, things can get covered, or if it's an investment for yourself so that the mortgage gets covered, you unfortunately have to put more down.
Yes.
To make it make sense and not be incredibly risky to yourself and to your finances.
100%.
But there are programs involved that you can, have access to if you're a first time home buyer, right? Where you do only have to put down 5%. You can get yourself a CMHC loan if you're a first time home buyer and do all of that sort of thing. That CMHC loan is, I'm mixing up my loans here,
Like
but
CMHC is when you're usually on the commercial side.
that's when I'm talking investing. Forgive me.
No,
yes,
CMHC is also mortgage insurance. So it's tacked onto your payments.
But so there is the possibility for you to put down less than 20% with a CMHC loan. Thank you. I am not crazy. Okay.
No.
Okay.
You're good. You got
But
it
I know
With
me and you
insurance.
we're definitely talking about commercial loans. But even for the first time home buyers programs, I know that there's the capacity in which you can put down a lot less, and you just have a mortgage that's insured.
Again, you also just need to figure out, speaking with your agent, with your mortgage broker, and being mindful, is that the right thing to do? If prices change and all you have in the deal is 5%, are you going to be in trouble if you have to sell your home?
Well, 100%,
More than
especially when
likely
you
they
have
a fixed rate.
When you have, but do you really want to get yourself into, just because someone says that you can buy $1 million home,
Doesn't mean you should.
doesn't mean that you should, with 5% down, especially, right? You want to make sure that all of your ducks are in a row and that everything is adding up for you personally and you don't get yourself into trouble.
Definitely.
Well, just to help Jen out, just because we know this question, you can't buy $1 million home with only 5%.
Correct.
A 999 home.
Correct. Thank you for that. It does have to be under $1 million.
Yeah, just because someone's going to come in the comments and say, actually.
If anyone listening doesn't know, yes, if you're purchasing a home over $1 million, you have to have 20% down. That is a rule.
Exactly.
Just to clarify. Okay.
Absolutely.
Next, why should I not sell my house? This can be very situational, but what are some reasons you would ever recommend people do not sell their home?
It doesn't make financial sense. That's basically one thing. Like, you purchased it, for example, in 2021 at the height of the market, and now you're seeing that your value is probably $80,000, $100,000, $150,000 less. So that when you put in the costs of moving, the expenses of realtor fees, or lawyer fees,
Breaking the mortgage,
you're more than likely not breaking even right now. So that is a big reason. Another big reason would be you're going to completely be out of the market. Like, you may not be able to get back in. So those are two big reasons for me.
I have seen a lot of people who thought it was, perhaps advantageous to sell at the height of the market and then simply go back to renting. And it hasn't necessarily worked into their favor, that now because of the higher interest rate climate, they haven't been able to actually purchase anything. So yes, they did make, a large sum of money, but they've been out of the market for a couple of years now and literally can't get back in, right? And then to tap onto Christina's point, if, for example, you managed to lock in a rate, like you were one of those super smart people who were like, you know what, I don't think, 2% is going to happen again. And you locked in like a 5-year rate at that point in time, I would definitely say, again, this is not a popular comment likely around realtors, but I would definitely say don't sell your home. Absolutely.
Why would you go get into a 7% mortgage when you have a
I
2%?
told-
Don't do that.
all my clients that are coming up to like 5 years, let's say, we've had conversations and it's like, don't rush it. Just wait. Just ride it out. Like, they're getting the itch of, maybe downsizing or getting bigger homes or whatever. It's like, just ride it out.
I will say too, another reason to not sell your home is it depends on your situation. For example, if you're a young couple and maybe you both have condos and you can at least maintain keeping one of those and go buy your next home because you can rent it out. No, don't sell that home. Keep that home, build that equity, get that cash flow. That's a reason to not sell as well.
Absolutely.
I had a little bit more to add, but I'm having like a brain moment. So let's move on.
Off we go. Okay, number 5, a little more technical. How much money do I need for my closing costs?
2 to 5%.
Beauty.
Yeah, no. So you need to prepare obviously for, so there's things that people don't realize that you do have to pay in addition to your mortgage. You do have to go ahead and pay for legal fees. So a lawyer can range in cost from anywhere from, I've seen as cheap as $900 to as expensive as I would say $1,800 in order to close a home. And then beyond that, you do need administrative fees in there. There is title insurance checks that also need to get paid for. Then land transfer tax is another huge one that people don't allocate any funds for. And it all depends on where you are going to be purchasing your home. So if you're purchasing in the city of Toronto, there's two taxes.
You get the double whammy.
Municipal, and then there's provincial, right? Whereas if you buy in the outskirts of the GTA in the suburbs, you are only taxed once, and that is the provincial tax, right?
Yes.
So using again $1 million as an example, I think you're looking at, I think it's about 15 or 16,000 for provincial, and then if it's Toronto, another 15 or 16,000. So that's $32,000 around that that you need to allocate funds for. And if you haven't allocated for that, you're going to be.
I think
some
another
hot
interesting thing to note is when you're on the buying side as well, there's like the little costs that people forget about, like the moving, to have the house cleaned. And then half the time people forget you need furniture when you have a house. Yeah. You will need furniture, all
Something
of those
always
other
breaks
things
down.
to consider. Yeah, like
The
you need to have a
fridge.
little fund for
Yeah.
maintenance if things aren't working or you're not handy. And then also on the seller side, because I just recently sold a home and it's been a minute since I've done it personally, you have to remember that you're most likely breaking a mortgage and there's going to be a penalty to that. I actually got charged on the mortgage for 3 days. I was really excited about that. I paid a lot of money to not live in my house for 3 days. So that's super fun. But
Yeah.
there's like all these other little fees that you have to remember are involved. And
your home
budgeting
insurance.
those from the beginning.
Getting your home insurance in ready to go if you've never owned a home, or going from like a condo to a house, and you have grass now, and you have
All
all
the
that
maintenance.
all the maintenance stuff
Yeah.
that you're going to have to buy.
Yes.
Those are the things that most people talk about, but don't really actually put pen to paper and think about how they're going to pay.
100%.
And I love the clients, and I'm speaking from personal experience, meaning like me and my family. When we first got a house, I remember it was like, oh yeah, no, like, well, we'll just get someone to like, mow the lawn if we're too busy and we have this and we have kids and whatnot. Well, that's an expense in and of itself as well, right? Like,
absolutely.
depending on the size of your house, it can range anywhere from like, I don't know, 300 to 500 and beyond, depending on your house size. And if you haven't allocated for that kind of stuff, it is going to be you out there mowing that lawn. So it's something that you need to consider when you are jumping, say, from a condo into a house.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And people always think of the initial costs, but I think when you're budgeting and you're thinking about your mortgage payments and your insurance and all those costs, budgeting like 1% per year for maintenance, because even if you don't use it, you will have a roof, you will have a furnace. Eventually, you are going to have all these costs and you need to be
Or
prepared.
you will want to do an upgrade. You will want to change something.
Yes. And people forget
Absolutely.
about that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Next, we have.
We're doing pretty good.
This is fun. Okay. We're halfway, guys.
Both of us.
Okay. If you have your home listed for sale, they
Sorry, my
ask,
hands are
should I
trembling.
lower the list price or offer an incentive to sell my home faster? So if my listing's been up, it's a little stale, I don't know what to do, I need to get it sold, what are we strategizing?
Well, let's just bring in Justin Bringbent energy. Do we have a pricing problem or a marketing problem?
I think more often than not, it tends to come down to price. Like when they ask incentives, I mean, I don't necessarily believe that incentives are the way to go. I think it ultimately usually does come down to price.
But I do think that there is a time and a place for incentives to make sure that things move.
I think agents get excited a little bit when they see a 3% there and they say, okay, well, maybe I can get my clients motivated as well to say, hey, like they're kicking in this 0.5.
I have to say, I don't love that. Like, I understand the mindset. And if you're working for a seller and you need to get it done and you're going to offer the 3%, but I don't like it on the buyer side. I don't like that an agent's going to put their client in a home for the commission rather than their client's interest. That's where it bugs me.
Oftentimes, though, I find that I've seen those situations where, for example, again, using around the $1 million mark as an example.
Well, we live in Toronto. That's not uncommon.
It's not uncommon. Exactly. It's around the average price. So if, say, for example, you have overpriced your home, like that the house, the comparables in and around the neighborhood, if you're looking at houses that are selling for like 1.1 and you've listed yours at 1.3 because, your seller has the most amazing, kitchen and appliances and landscaping and this, that, the other, it's beautiful. And they think that it's worth 200,000 more than the neighbor's house. You've obviously... And it didn't work. That pricing strategy kind of backfires because what happens is it tends to sit on the market and then people look at it and they're like, what's wrong with that house?
Yeah.
And we've seen it happen so many times. And then there's a price improvement. Then you go down just a little bit because the sellers are like, okay.
You don't go enough.
Okay, we'll take, 25 off, 25K. Meanwhile, that it needs to be at least 100,000 to be where anybody wants to purchase it. So, and then you see this, if you look in, in MLS, you can look in the address history and you kind of see like there's been 5 price changes. Well, at that point, 3%, a co-op commission tends to get stuff done.
There's a time and place for
There's
everything.
definitely a time and place for it.
Totally.
it's just it's super, like you're hindering your listing so much if you're over listing it like that.
Yeah.
Like people are just going to wait for you to keep dropping the price. And then eventually that when you're in the realistic price range, they'll bring you an offer.
And
then it sells quickly.
On the flip side of that, though, to play devil's advocate to exactly what I'm saying, I do think that there's a time and a place to actually have something listed strategically higher if you do believe that there is value in it.
If
Do
it
you know
is
what
one
I
of a
mean?
kind, absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
If it's one of a kind, it doesn't fit the cookie cutter model of like, okay, well, this one sold for this much, and like it's literally the exact replica.
And also, if the people seriously don't necessarily need to sell and they have the time to wait, it's a brand new build, it's a custom build, and it's just like it needs that appropriate buyer to come in and see that value, and it just takes a little bit longer. Like there are places and situations where that happens too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it's also important to note on the market you're in. Like when they say to sell faster, like right now, things are taking a little longer when you're out in the suburbs, a little more rural. Maybe the city, it's still pretty active, but there's a time and a place too where you do need to wait a little bit because the buyers just aren't out right now in a lot of places.
It's not unreasonable to think that something that is in the mid, like 1.5, 1.6 is going to take maybe 2 weeks to sell, 3 weeks to sell, because there are people looking for an expensive product and they just take their time. So, I think that's also an adjustment that people have to have sometimes when we're not in a fast and fury market.
This is a really funny question.
Okay.
I should have looked at these. What color of houses sell the fastest? I don't know that that's really something you can consider, but I will say there's colors inside the home or there's color palettes that will deter things from selling fast.
I agree.
So I guess like interior, the houses that tend to sell efficiently are usually, light, bright, clean, neutral.
Consistent.
Yeah.
So I am so sorry. If you have like 10 different shades of neutral in your house, that is not what we mean here. It needs to be a consistent neutral palette throughout
or
the
different
home.
flooring throughout. It's not.
There's that like realtor myth too, like red walls don't sell. Like if you have a red wall, your house won't sell.
I had a
but
red
I will
kitchen.
say a lot of people don't love red. That's really funny for you because you're the most white-washed color palette person.
I know. I like clean, sleek, white walls, beautiful. I had literally, when I first got married, there's a time and a place, right? Trends come and go, but I remember specifically I loved this magazine called Living, etc., and they had like red kitchens being a thing. I painted the walls red. Yes, I did. Bright red, like cherry red. And then I had like a purple side chair in there. I know, it was so weird. And these like these chandeliers.
What year is this?
I'm not saying. I'm not saying.
I feel like it's 2009, 10.
There was a phase though, and I keep running into like boomers right now who are thinking about selling or thinking about redecorating, and they all have red walls. My parents are redoing their dining room right now. Cherry red wall.
I'm saying. It was a thing.
My parents have a cherry red kitchen. It's like wood. It's nice, but it's like a 2009.
Can we also just call out? So right now it's very cool to have white walls and very neutral, and then
Color's
to have the
okay,
blonde
too.
flooring. But a couple years ago, gray was everywhere, and then a couple
never
years
loved
before
gray.
that, like I know people who still have, and forgive me, lots of people still have
Dark
this, but it was
hardwood?
dark espresso flooring. Like that was the thing to do.
I think that
right?
might come back.
I think it will
I see that
because
cycling back. We've seen so much like
there's way
light
too
wood.
much white oak happening. Someone's going to come back and bring in the espresso and just like shake it all up, and it's going to be over.
All right, ladies. Oh, this is a fun one. Jen, you're going to get all hyped up inside.
Oh,
what should
boy.
I look for in a lucrative investment property?
Oh,
Dun,
where
dun,
do I
dun.
start? Man, do I have to take this one? What do I look for in a lucrative investment
multiple
property?
doors.
I agree
More
with
than
that.
Multiple exit strategies.
Yes.
I want to know what your exit strategy is. What do you plan on doing with your investment property? Do you want to do people who are flipping out there, they want cash. People who are in it for the long game and they're a little bit more conservative. I want a beautiful family home in a great neighborhood that's going to appreciate, and I get to live off that
That's
come
the thing.
25 years from now.
Lucrative is a very broad brush. Lucrative can come in different packages. So it depends on the type of investor. Are you looking for long-term appreciation lucrative? Are you looking for monthly cash flow lucrative? Are you looking for a flip lucrative?
And people are always talking. They're always like, oh, cash flow is important. Oh, appreciation is important. No,
Depends
man,
on your
your
goals.
situation is important. What do you need? Do you have a lot of active income and you literally need to put it somewhere so the taxman doesn't come and get you, and you want to make sure that your money grows? Well, then that's a totally different ballgame. Or even if you're a first-time investor, honestly, pre-construction gets ragged on a lot lately because of how expensive it is versus, regular resale.
But it'd be a great tool.
If you are a first-time first-time investor and you just want to get into the market and you have $30,000 saved up, what is that going to get you really today? It could get you in the outskirts of Ontario or different
Honestly, not
provinces.
even.
Okay.
Sorry.
But the point is that if you want to use it as like a saving tool, you literally could go and put $30,000 into a pre-construction investment, save up some more. And then because of these like long deposit structures, you get to kind of like pay down this investment of yours. And then you have an asset to show for it. And I think that's a great way to get into the market. It might not be for the seasoned investor who wants something a little bit different and has more capital to play with, but it's a great start. So what was the question again? What's the best one?
What should I look for in a lucrative investment property? Which is just too broad to dive in. We could talk for hours.
I think it's really important to talk with somebody, talk to a realtor, talk to a mortgage professional, talk to even a financial advisor
other investors
to see what your goals are, what you have to start with, and then just start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, lucrative is probably just thinking like all the bells and whistles, like, is it cash flowing? Is it appreciating? Does it, so I think we would probably dig deep and see what was most important.
It's so different for everybody.
For sure. But everybody wants cash flow and appreciation. So where do we find that?
Everyone wants money.
Yeah.
Lucrative is the name of it.
Well, cash flow definitely at this point in time is hard to come by. I think more and more, people are having to get very creative. The simple strategies of just turning a house into a duplex are not working anymore. That's why people are looking into, doing the whole Toronto multiplex thing and putting in as many units as you possibly can to make it make sense. But then you're also then talking about a higher price point. So this is a conversation we can have.
Cycle that never ends.
We can save this conversation for its entire episode. So
amazing. Okay, here's a fun one. How do deposits work, friends?
They are consideration. So when you have an offer accepted, you have a deposit with it. It could be $1 or it could be. It's just to say that you are putting this down to close on this property.
It's a little skin in the game.
Yeah, you're leveraging yourself a little bit with this agreement. The higher the deposit, the more leveraged you are, and the less of likely you'll be able, like you would walk away. Mm-hmm. And they are used. The money is used towards the down payment. So whatever the down payment is, then you less whatever you've already put down as well.
I find that to be a question I get a lot, actually, especially obviously with newer buyers. Mm-hmm. But in the initial conversations when we're discussing having deposits ready and what those look like, I always get asked, is that additional? Does that go towards my down payment? And I think it's interesting that that's not more commonly known. One
of my crucial questions when we first start shopping is, where's your deposit? Yes. And they usually say, oh, it's in a blah, blah. I'm like, you need to move it now.
It needs to be liquid.
You need to move it because it takes usually 48 hours. And in the heat of the moment, we probably won't remember that.
Yes.
And to put that in the agreement, and then we would be at breach. So, which has happened to me. So, I usually try to tell people, like, move it now. If you have a Tangerine account, make sure you talk to them, see what it is, and see how. And like, we need to make sure that that's in the agreement as well. Because Tangerine takes time,
right,
to cut the checks.
And also, just on that tip, the typical size of a deposit in the city of Toronto is actually 5%.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be noted that you should have 5% prepared as a down payment.
Or just be prepared for them to ask you why it's low.
Yes.
Yeah. If you do step outside the city of Toronto, though, I've seen deposits as low as like $5,000. And when I went ahead and offered with my 5%, they were like, wow.
Yeah.
Incredibly strong offer.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I did the first and like one of the last times I had a deposit under 10 grand happened in 2020. And it was like, I don't think the people that I sold the house to, like the buyers, realized how many horseshoes they had up their butt, that the seller was willing to sell their house and only take like $7,500.
So crazy. But it is normal in other markets. I mean, they tend to have a lower price point. It's
not something I've ever done before.
Let's blow the doors open here. We know why it's 5% in the city of Toronto.
So the realtors get paid, my friends.
You got it, my friend. 2.5. Elsewhere,
Hope
you're lucky.
The best. Okay, we have number 10, our final question for the day.
This has been fun.
And this is a good one because this is an opinion one. Should I sell or buy first? Oof. Jen and I have talked about this. I'm curious what Christina's answer is.
It's case by case. I'm doing both right now, and one of them was like, they're not in a rush, and we'll sell first, and we'll figure it out when we buy. But it really depends on what you're looking for on what your next property is. So, and then another couple, this property came up. We didn't want to let it go. And they also didn't want to sell their house before they secured something else. So you just need to be really, really clear on all case scenarios in those if you buy or sell first. In this market, I would rather sell first, but you know, when you every case is different.
Yeah.
I think for the majority of people, to your point, it's in my opinion, and Kelly feels the same way, I think, it is more advantageous for you to sell because then you know exactly what you have.
Yes, you're not gambling.
To move forward with. You're not going to mess around and get yourself into a sticky situation. However, with that, there's a caveat is that if you are in a situation, it's all individualistic. Like if you're in a situation where you're good and you're okay and, you know, you've been looking for, say, for example, a dream property, ravine lot, XYZ with all the bells and whistles, and it comes up, if you're in an okay situation, I'm going to tell you to go for it because chances of that coming up again are not good, right? But again, you have to be in that particular financial situation. Typically first-time home buyers are not. You know, it's somebody that is looking to upsize and they do have a different situation happening. So it's different for everybody, but for the most part, on average, I vote sell.
Yeah. Take the financial security, know what you have before you go shopping. Don't risk it if you can't risk it.
Yeah, if you cannot risk it, don't risk it. Absolutely. Or just if you're a realtor and you have clients that are in that position, just make sure you've told them this is A, B, C. These are like these are the scenarios. How do we get ourselves out of them if they happen? And
100%. Because there's the price point, but there is also, you know, what if you don't sell? Because we're not in a market where you can put a condition on the sale of the buyer's property right now. I mean, maybe right now, but probably not.
Honestly, it's like really it happens. But
it would
it's
be
really
very specific situations at this
agree.
point. Yeah. Well, ladies, that was our 10 questions.
Amazing.
That was awesome.
Next time I'm going to get dingers if we do another one of these
I want a bell. I was looking for the bell or a buzzer.
We'll work on that.
I'm collaborative. You know, we can work together.
Ding.
Love it.
Like slapping
All right.
your
Well,
hand.
guys, thanks for tuning in this week. We just want to let you know that we have a lot of great guests coming up throughout the fall. We have a full lineup, so keep tuning in. Thank you for the feedback. It's been awesome. You know, it's nice to hear that we're doing really good work and you guys are enjoying it. So please let us know. And if there's anybody that would like to be on the show, just reach out sometime and we'll see how we can fit you in. Have a good one and see you next Thursday.
And please rate, review, and like. Love you.
Yes.
Yes, if you are listening and you are loving what you're hearing, please scroll all the way down to wherever the podcasts are and hit that 5-star review button because it helps with our algorithms and lets other people listen to us. So really appreciate you guys tuning in. And guys, I love you because this was great. Round robin style.
I agree.
We made it happen.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.